Welcome back to Cyclones Insider here for now the fourth week of the Cyclones season. I'm Josh Sperber, joined right here by Stu Johnson, and we're giving you the recap of the last couple weeks in the Brooklyn Cyclones. Before we start, though, we're going to talk about Michael Conforto. We want to congratulate him being named to the 2017 Major League Baseball All-Star Team. Stu, he's the first Cyclone to be on the All-Star Team since Scott Kazmir was named with the A's in 2014, and the first Cyclone to be named to the All-Star Team as a member of the New York Mets, their parent club. You were actually here when Michael Conforto was playing on the Cyclones. Tell me about some of the things you saw, maybe that would have previewed him being at the level he is now.
Well, there were a lot of expectations for Michael when he got here because he was a 10th overall pick and he had been a very accomplished college baseball player at Oregon State. And he's one of those rare guys who really the second he showed up met those expectations. He hit over 330, really was a centerpiece of this lineup, batted third on that team for the most part. And Conforto was basically what you'd expect him to be. Very business-like approach, took hitting very seriously. He was a student of the game. One thing that struck me from that 2014 season was about his defense, because coming into that year, there were questions about whether he could play left field at a professional level or at a major league level, and he got better and better as that season went on. He really looked very solid in left, and with the Mets, he's even played some center field. So he took that part of his game very seriously, both in college and in the minor leagues, worked hard to get better at it, and he turned himself into a very complete player, and obviously when the lights have been on in the major league level at Citi Field and elsewhere, he has been outstanding. So we're all pretty excited for him.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see some Cyclones excelling in the major leagues. Unfortunately, this season, though, they are not excelling. They are 5-14, had a rough couple of weeks. One did win 2 games. I got to see my first home win as a member of the Cyclones team here. But anything you want to talk about that kind of stood out in this last couple of weeks, too?
Well, if we're looking for positives, I guess I could point to the lineup, which is finally starting to show some juice in the middle of the order. You know, you've got 2 through 6 that's consistently hitting the ball pretty well. Reed Gamache is hitting well. Matt Winokur and Quinn Brody, a couple of college guys who the Mets took early in this year's draft. They've been swinging it well. And they've got some thump in the middle of the order with a couple of guys too, but the issue has been getting consistent extra base hits and getting hits with runners in scoring position. So they've been scoring some more runs. They're hitting for a better average. They actually had a 10-1 win in Tri-City where they had 17 hits against the Valley Cats. So that was kind of the high point of the last week. But then the next night they lost 13-0, and they've dropped 2 of the first 3 against Staten Island in this weekend series. So they're going to have to clean some things up on the defensive side, and they're going to have to get better pitching if they're going to make the offensive rejuvenation turn into wins.
Well, they have had a little bit more power on offense than they had at the beginning of the year. They've hit their second and third home runs. Jose Miguel Medina did against Connecticut, and then just a couple nights ago, Carl Stadjahar did against Staten Island. But there has been some improvements in pitching. We've seen with Staten Island, especially when they were here with the 4-3 win on Friday. The first game that we did win against Staten Island, we had some better pitching performances. What have you seen from the staff as well?
Well, it's sort of hard to tell right now because we haven't yet seen everybody pitch who's going to be in the rotation this year. Marcel Renneria hasn't thrown yet. First-round pick David Peterson arrived a couple of days ago. It'll be another couple of weeks before he pitches. But with a couple of guys on rehab, you've got some mature pitchers here at the moment. Chase Ingram started yesterday. He looked pretty good. And Mike Gibbons is going to make the start in the final game of the series against Staten Island. And he's an accomplished pitcher. He was here in Brooklyn a couple of years ago before undergoing Tommy John surgery. So those are a couple of mature guys. They know how to pitch. It's just a matter of making sure they're healthy and working their way back. Jose Carlos Medina has been an innings eater so far. He's actually thrown the only complete game in the New York Penn League. And he's been pretty good, but hasn't gotten a lot of run support when he's been on the mound. So it's been one thing or another that's kind of slowed this team down in the games they've played in the first couple weeks. When the offense is hitting, the pitching struggled. When the pitching's been good, the defense has been bad. So they're going to have to play a more complete game to really capitalize when they get good starts, and then they've got to try to keep hitting as well.
I've seen them get more help from the bullpen. One of those games in particular was on Friday against Staten Island. Martin Anderson, the recent call-up from the Frontier League, pitched 4 scoreless innings, striking out 10 batters and walking just 1. I interviewed him earlier today. Let's see what he had to say. Marty, you came in from the Frontier League, a league that's independent of the major and minor leagues. What's been different in adjusting to the level of play and just the different league?
The adjustment would be just the level of hitters. They've come up through affiliated ball down to Frontier League because they got released, and then they were just working on just quality hits, and actually the zone was a little bit tighter in the Frontier League, so it taught me to work well in the zone here.
Nice. And we saw that zone working well against Staten Island. Just real shortly after you came in, you pitched 10 strikeouts in 4 innings. How does that give you confidence, give you motivation for your rising up in the minor leagues?
That gives me just the best confidence that I could ask for, because I didn't expect this many strikeouts. I expected to just go after hitters and make them do their job, and but the confidence has definitely been boosted, and I expect to do well in the higher levels for sure. So.
Good to hear. We definitely like to see you continue pitching performances like that. But you've pitched as both a starter and a reliever in the Frontier League, and you just told me that you're going to be starting on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see yourself fitting best as a pitcher, like in the rotation or out of the bullpen?
Definitely be in the rotation. I've always been a starter my whole life, and they just kind of put me in the bullpen, kind of just spotted, needed me a few times in the bullpen, and I work well eating up innings and doing my job in the starting rotation. So that's good.
Marty Anderson did not pitch tonight, but Darren Ramos did. He got the win for the Brooklyn Cyclones in a 6-4 home win against the Staten Island Yankees in the Battle of the Bridge. Quinn Brody and Reed Gamache each hit 2 RBI doubles to score 4 out of the 6 for Brooklyn. Keaton Aldridge struck out 2 to get the save. Stu, what are your thoughts on tonight's win?
Well, it was a big win. Get a series split with the team with the best record in the league, the Staten Island Yankees, and really just important to get some momentum going into the off day and then a long road trip to Ohio to take on Mahoning Valley. And as you said, some timely hitting. 4 runs right out the chute in the 3rd inning, gave them a 4-0 lead. The Yankees then came back, tied it up at 4. And that was a situation where you could see a team that struggled the way the Cyclones have, losing some confidence and eventually coughing up the game. Instead, they answered back with a couple of runs. Quinn Brody had made a couple mistakes in the field, had a big 2-run double, and that was the difference in the game. They got good pitching, too. 13 strikeouts for the Cyclone staff today. And lastly, really important to get Keaton Aldridge back on the mound. He hadn't pitched in over 2 weeks. He'd had some arm soreness, and he's the guy who's supposed to be the closer in this team. Came back on the mound, 3-pitch, 9th inning to get the save, couple of strikeouts, and that is a big thing for this team moving forward.
It's definitely important to have a good closer, and the Cyclones did a good job hitting, as you mentioned. They scored their 2nd most runs at home. The most were scored in that 7-6 victory on July 2nd. But the next series, as you mentioned, against the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, they're currently losing to Williamsport. They're the Indians affiliate. They're a young team. What are your thoughts on that one coming up?
Very young team. They have the 2nd youngest age for their position players in the league. A lot of guys who were drafted out of high school in the last couple of years by the Indians. So they're a little inexperienced. They've struggled defensively at times. But the starting pitcher in the game on Tuesday will be a Cleveland Indian. It's Danny Salazar, who's been a very accomplished major league pitcher. He's on rehab, and he'll be throwing from Mahoning Valley against Nicholas DeBora and the Cyclones. So I think that's always a test, because you're facing a guy who's a top-flight major league pitcher, but it also sharpens your focus a little bit and provides some intensity for this team. Coming off an off day, coming off a victory, I think they're going to have their work cut out for them against Salazar, but it should be a fun challenge and a good test for them.
Well, it's a good matchup for the Cyclones. DeBora has a 1.93 ERA. He's been one of their best pitchers this season. I'm excited to see how that one unfolds. But the next time that you guys, Cyclones fans, can see the Cyclones here at home will be against the defending champion, State College Spikes. So there's a lot of tough matchups coming up for the Cyclones. We'll see how they pull through. For Cyclones Insider, I'm Josh Sperber. This is Stu Johnson. Have a great day, and go Cyclones.